Welcome to Gurukul Live Lectures. I am Dr. Preeti Jagwani from Department of Computer Science, Aryabhat College, University of Delhi. Today I am going to discuss about privacy in location-based services. So first of all, let us understand what is a location-based service. I am sure every one of you must have used any one of location-based services anywhere in your life. Technically speaking, location-based services (LBS) is request of usable personalized information delivered at point of need. That means the information which is usable to the user and which is personalized for the user. It is not general for all the users, but personalized for a particular user. It delivered at the point of need. For example, you have some promotions, some automatic update of travel reservations, some information about new or interesting products and services, like for example location based traffic reports. Nowadays we frequently used Google Maps, which says how many cars are there in the freeway, what is the estimated time to arrival to reach my destination. This is a very common query which we generally impose to Google Map, which is an application, navigation application by Google, and we have many other applications like this of the type Google Maps. So generally we ask what is the time, estimated time to travel, or what is the estimated time of arrival to reach my particular destination. Or maybe a store finder, which is more commonly known as near me services. Jaise, for example, where is my nearest fast food restaurant, or where is the nearest Pizza Hut, or where is the nearest Domino's, or any fast food restaurant, or any other thing, or maybe where is the nearest PVR, that is near me services or proximity services. Then range queries, what are the restaurants within 5 miles of my location. Let's say I am standing at a particular location and I need to know what are the restaurants available so that I can go and hang out there within 5 miles of my location. So these are the queries which comes under location based store finder. Or it could be a location based advertisement which is flashed on your mobile and says that e-coupons will be sent to all customers roaming around within 5 miles of a particular store. For example, there is a store of Starbucks coffee at a particular point and it is sending coupons, e-coupons or e-tickets to all the users which are roaming around within 5 miles, that please come to the Starbucks coffee and get $1 off. So something of these e-coupons which comes under range query. All these are actually location based services. So location based services includes, based on the function, this may be a mapping, navigation or transport services. It could be travel or tourism, local search and information, social networking and entertainment related services, recreation and fitness related services, or it could be a female or family or people locator service, or any mobile advertising, as I have told earlier. Then what are the popular location based applications which are commonly used nowadays? We have social networking as a part of, as a very necessary part of our life. Similarly, we have location based social networks. These are the social networks which are operated upon, or whose basis is location, only location. So location based social networks, we have Foursquare, Gala, Loop. These are the examples of LB location based social networks. Or we have some deals, like passing on deals by emails or social media, like Groupon applications. Or we must have used Ola and Uber. These are the common applications which are based on the location based, or in the category of location based services, and we must have used it. Everybody must have used it. So these are the common applications. Another common application is Google Places or Google Maps, which is used to discover new places, or which is used to fire the range queries for new places. Even location based social gaming is also available, and Scavenger is the platform for that. So Scavenger is the example of location based social gaming. Or a Shopkick, in which points and rewards are awarded just for walking into the stores. You go to a particular store and you will get some points, or you will get some rewards just to get in. So these type of all these applications are location based applications. So what is the motivation behind studying these location based services, or why these location based services are capturing the market? You can see that in 1980 there is a GIS market, and then there comes location based services market. So GIS is geographical information services. So GIS market was going slowly from 1980 to 2005. It was around $2 billion or so, but despite its inception after 1990, location based services market goes very rapidly until 2005 it reaches almost to $10 billion. Here you can see more smartphone users are using location based services. For example, in 2013 there were only 74% users in USA who have used one or more location based services, while in 2015-16 most of the 90% users apart of mobile users have used any of the location based services. So this location based services is capturing the mobile market. So yes, it is a hot study area. Technically speaking, if we say what actually, so after understanding what is location based services and what type of services are included in this, technically we need to understand how location based services operate and what are the technologies under it. So location based services basically a convergence of three technologies. One is mobile devices, another one is internet, and third one is, you can say, geographical information system, GIS, or spatial database. So location based services comes under the combination of all these technologies. So internet is a very commonly used term, you all are aware of it, and so is mobile devices. Everybody is having a mobile device in his or her hand. What is basically GIS or spatial databases? Let us take a look. Spatial database, you all understand what do you mean, what is mean by a normal database. A normal database is one in which we store records or in which we store information. It is a kind of, you can say, relevant information stored in a particular systematic format is database. As far as spatial database is concerned, it is the database for data representing spatial objects. So spatial objects are objects related to geography. For example, let us say we have a road map as it is shown on the screen. We have a road map. So in this road map you are having 2 points, let us say point A and point B, and there is a path from point A to point B, and there are some polygons, some squares, some triangles, and you can say collectively it is a polygon. So basically kind of you have points, lines, polygons, and this makes a complete road map. So how are we going to store the data of this road map, which is containing some 2D objects? These 2D objects can be roads or political boundaries or some states or provinces, and these are captured in the form of, or these are represented in the form of points, lines, and polygons. So how are we going to represent or how are we going to store points, lines, and polygons into the databases? So the answer is spatial database. So spatial database is the database which help us to store these type of data. Technically, spatial database allows geometric objects from simple to complex, that means ranging from simple objects which are points, lines, and polygons to complex which are linear network or topological coverages. So there are many databases which are available in the market, where the common examples are Ingres, PostgreSQL, Esri GIS, GeoMesa. Now the list is not exclusive, the list goes on and on. Depending upon particular application or depending upon the use, you can choose one of these spatial databases. So basically LBS takes its data, location based services takes its data from spatial databases system, and the other technologies which are included are mobile devices and internet. Coming to the components of location based services. location based services is having 4 major components in its generic architecture. I am just going to tell you after 2 minutes, just hold on. So, LBS components is having LBS components are positioning technology, communication network, mobile devices or user, and services and the content provider. So, positioning technology, you all are aware of, have you heard, you must have heard GPS, global positioning system. That is a positioning technology which says that position of a particular mobile user will be taken with the help of satellites. So, this is an outdoor positioning technology, or it could be an indoor positioning technology like dead rock reckoning and so on and so forth. So, using any positioning technology, position or location, which is the central key factor in location based services of a particular mobile user, will be captured, and whole of the service providing is depending upon this location. That if you are at a particular location A, you will get the request response of your request accordingly, or you are at a particular position B, you will get the responses according to the location B. So, one is positioning technology, another one is communication network. This communication network could be over the air network, or more commonly you can say this is internet, through which the whole communication between the service providers or between the other key players and your mobile users takes place. Third component comes is service and content provider. Service and content provider means, for example, let us say I am asking for some near me services, some near me components. Some near me services are stored somewhere in the databases of kind of GIS or spatial databases, which I already told you what is that. So, taking from those GIS databases are actually stored with your service and content provider, and content is taken from those service providers or content providers, and then it is given to the fourth component, which is mobile device or the user. Here you can see you have a generic architecture of a particular location based services. You have communication network, which is over the air, which could be over the air network. It could be separate from the internet, or it could not be separate from the internet. You have a positioning component, you have users, and you have data and service or content provider. So, basically what happens, a user fires a query, its position is taken, its position is captured, and according to that position the query goes to content or data provider, and because of that particular location or according to that particular location, response is generated and given back to the user, and this whole communication, which is taking the positions going the query going to the data providers and the response coming back from data providers to the users, is actually happening over the internet or over the communication network. So, 4 components: your communication network, positioning technologies, mobile devices or user, or content and data provider are basically the components which make a generic architecture of any location based service. Coming to types of location based services, there can be various types of location based services depending upon what parameters you are choosing for categorization. On the basis of service, if we are going to categorize, it could be a pull service or a push service. Now, what is a pull service? Pull service is for which you have subscribed and you are looking for the service actively. These are also known as active services. For example, your near me services, or you are asking any service from the Google Maps. So, that means you are pulling the content or you are pulling the services from the service providers. Another category is push services. Push services says you have not actively asked or you have not proactively asked for the service, but it is being pushed to your device or it is being pushed to your mobile. For example, as I earlier told you that you are walking in a particular area and there is a message which comes up on your mobile, says there is a $1 off going on Starbucks coffee shop, which is just near to, or a particular address is given. That is a push service. You have not asked for that service, you have not subscribed for that service, but that is given to you, though these services are push services. Or so on the basis of services we have types of location based services as to pull services and push services. On the basis of architecture, if we can say, there can be two divisions, which is trusted third party TTP based architecture of location based services or TTP free architecture. Now, TTP based and TTP free I am going to discuss in detail. This trusted third party is also known as middleware, or it can be known with different names. Another classification which is not very important is person versus device oriented services. Person oriented services and device oriented services, in these services control of location based service is different. In person oriented services, the user is not the central one, while in device oriented services the user is the central one. Coming to the architecture classification, of location based services depending upon the architecture, let us consider TTP free architecture. So, one side we have users in a particular area, users which are present in a particular area. These are shown here on the slides, and another side we have location service providers. So, communication is being held between these two parties. Request is going from user to location service providers. These are also known as server. These location service providers are also known as servers, and the response is coming back from location service provider to the users present into that area. Now, there is no third party in between. There is a direct communication between user and the server, which is happening over the air network, or which is happening over any communication network. So, this is what is happening in TTP free architecture, which is trusted third party free architecture. We do not have any trusted third party in between the client and the server. While considering TTP based architecture, we have one middleware or trusted third party in between the location service providers, which are servers, and the users. Now, what is the use of this trusted third party? Actually, maintaining privacy or maintaining security is the use of this, is the key use of this middleware or trusted third party. There can be many other uses which a middleware is going to serve, or which a trusted third party is going to serve, but the central idea is to prevent the privacy or to keep the privacy of users from these location service providers is the duty or is the job of this middleware or the trusted third party. So, in TTP based architecture, this middleware is responsible for preventing them for any security or privacy breach, while in TTP free architecture, it is the responsibility of the user to prevent his or her own privacy. So, coming to what can be broad research areas in LBS or broad challenges in location based services, there can be many. For example, location determination with extreme or micro accuracy, then location based natural queries, location based security and privacy, geosocial networks, spatial databases is another area, geodata mining, LBS QoS, QoS is quality of services, location based content management and location based recommender system. There can be various challenges in location based services. All these are mentioned here, but for today's focus of our lecture is location security and privacy. Basically, location privacy we are going to deal in detail. So, let us first understand what is privacy. So, according to the privacy pioneer Alan Westin, it is the claim of individual, group or institutions to determine for themselves when and how, to what extent information about them is communicated to others. So, what and how many whereabouts for myself, I wish to communicate to others, or I wish to communicate to third parties, or what and how I am going to communicate, or what I am going to disclose about myself is privacy. Now, coming to privacy and versus security, there is an kind of these two, privacy and security, are overlapping concepts, but these are not the same. Security is how your personal information is protected. This is mostly related to safety issues, and privacy is actually how personal your information remains personal, and security is about your safety. So, for example, let us say you are having an envelope and you are having a confidential document within that. So, that confidential document you want to send to somebody, and that envelope is sealed. So, for example, that confidential document is being taken out by some adversary in between, or some third party in between, which you do not want to, and is being read. The document is being read. That means your privacy is being compromised. Now, for example, if that particular envelope along with that document is being lost, that is security, that is the breach of security. So, how your personal information is protected is security, basically it is related to safety issues, and how your personal information is personal within yourself is privacy. Again, to understand it more clearly, let us take the example of opening an email account. While opening that email account or any other account, let us say bank account, you might share your personal information with the service providers when you open an email account. For example, your gender, or maybe your contact number, or maybe some other information. Fine. So, what is going to happen next? There can be three possible situations which can occur. One is your privacy and security both are maintained. That means your email service provider completely protects your data, and it is not going to hand over your data to anybody else, and you are in a good situation. Fine, your privacy and security both are maintained. Now, the second situation which can happen is your privacy is compromised and your security is maintained. That means the email service provider sells some of your information to a marketer, and that marketer is going to use your personal information as and when he wants, and as in the way he wants. So, how your email service provider is going to give that information, because you may have already given a consent for this in your privacy disclosure form. Remember, when you open an email account or any other account online or offline, there is a privacy disclosure form, and we general users, without going through it, without reading the privacy disclaimers or privacy disclosures, we just tick on the I agree option and we just go further, we proceed further to the next option. That particular form or that particular disclosure is may be having a consent from you for sharing your information to the other marketers or other third parties. So, as a result of which your personal information will be in more hands than you may have wanted. You have given your personal information to the email service provider, and obviously you don't want, generally you don't want your personal information to be communicated to others, but when your privacy is compromised, that is being given to the others, maybe with your consent or without your consent. Third situation happens when your both privacy and security are compromised. When this situation happens, when your email service provider get hit by a data breach and some cyber criminals penetrate the database of email service providers, it is considered as a security breach. So, when your security is gone, your privacy is also gone. So privacy and security both of the concepts. In this particular case, when your service provider gets hit by a data breach or a security breach, gone, both the concepts. So you could have become the victim of cyber fraud or identity theft. So there can be, just to summarize, there can be 3 situations which says, 1, your privacy and security both are intact, nothing is compromised. Second, in which your email service providers give some of your data to other marketers, that means your privacy is compromised but not the security. And in the third situation, when your email service provider hits by a data breach, your data obviously is taken and you become the victim of a cyber fraud and identity theft both. That means your security as well as your privacy both are compromised. So coming to location privacy. Location privacy is a special type of information privacy in which the control of location information is the central issue. Basically, privacy is how much whereabout and how much so and so you want to convey about yourself, or you want to communicate, or you want to reveal about yourself. So that is information privacy. Coming to the location privacy. Location privacy is ability to prevent other unauthorized parties from learning one's current or past location. So this is basically hiding your location or preventing your location. So control of location information is the central issue or the key factor of location privacy. Nowadays we have many techniques or many apps and many services which pinpoint the location at any time, at any place. Although they promise safety and convenience, safety and convenience is promised by them, we enjoy using those services or we enjoy using those apps, but they always threaten their privacy and security. For example, you can be tracked, or your identity can be theft, or any other type of issue could be there if your location is in the hand of a person or is in the hand of a authority or someone which it shouldn't be. So that particular person or that particular authority we are going to name it as an adversary. So if your location is being tracked and is in the hand of an adversary, your privacy as well as security both are at the stack. So why do you need location privacy? That's a very important question. Why location privacy is needed? So location privacy breach is something like penetrating into one's personal space. I don't want somebody to say that you on that particular day or on that particular date went there or at that particular time. So I'll be obviously uncomfortable with these type of remarks. This is kind of uncomfortable creepiness of being watched. It seems that I am being watched every time and any time. So somebody is watching me, and obviously for this type of things I am not comfortable. Or this could result into unwanted revelations of a person's activity, and this could go up to actual physical harm also, which is very dangerous. And last but not the least, users share their location information without being aware of consequences. Let's take a very simple example that on any particular social media we publicly say that going for so and so holidays along with the family. So in a way you are declaring that nobody is there at your home, because you have declared that you are going for a holiday. That means nobody is with your family, that means nobody is there at home. So users are just sharing their information. This is an example of just sharing the information. Even users are sharing their location information without being aware of the consequences. For example, checked in at so and so mall. This is a very common kind of status which users are keeping, or which young generation is keeping, and they don't understand the pros and cons of these kinds of situations. That means you are present there, and obviously you are going to you are going to go to your home after some time, so you can be tracked, or you may have you may be threatened. So what is the actual challenge of location based services? As I have said earlier, location based services are depending upon the location. So we need to disclose the location in order to get a location based service, but the agenda is, in order to avoid the privacy issues, location should be hidden. So these are the two contradictory statements. In order to get the service, we need to disclose, and in order to save our privacy, this should be hidden. So that is the actual challenge we are talking about. So actually, are we just trying to save the location of the user, or what are we trying to do? In order to keep the privacy, or in order to protect the privacy or location privacy more specifically, we need to save, or we need to hide user's location, identity information, the time at which the location is observed. So basically, let us understand this concept. If I am saying XYZ without saying the identity information, or without disclosing the identity information, XYZ will be available in let's say ABC mall at 3 p.m. That is fine, that is perfectly fine, because you don't disclose that who is going to be available. So it is XYZ which is going to be available. That means identity information we have not disclosed. Or let's say we can let's take another example. Let's say Ajay is going to be at 3 p.m. and we are not disclosing the location. That is also fine. So what is the main idea? Is to avoid simultaneous observation of the above three components. Now for example, I am saying Ajay is going to be there at 3 p.m. in ABC mall. That could create a particular threat to the privacy. So basically, users location, that is that particular mall, identity information, that means Ajay is going to be there, and what time he or she is going to be there, 3 p.m. as I have given in the example. That is the problem. So users location, identity information, and the time and at which that location is observed. It could be a past location, or it could be a present one, or it could be a future one. Main idea is to avoid simultaneous observation of these three components. So now the question arises, from whom we are going to hide this? We are going to hide this from the adversary, which is actually location service provider in our trusted third party architecture. So in trusted third party architecture, I am having three components. One is user, another one is the middleware or trusted third party, and the third one is your location service providers or location servers, or commonly you can say only servers. So these servers are considered as adversaries which we don't want to disclose the location. It is okay, it is perfectly fine if we disclose the location to the middleware or trusted third party. That's because that party is abided by laws and is generally considered to be safe to disclose the location to the trusted third party, and it is the common responsibility of the trusted third party or that middleware or the central server to hide the location from the adversary. That's the advantage of trusted third party architecture, that users need not to be worried about their own privacy. There is a middleware in between who is going to take care of their privacy, which is not available in trusted third party free architectures. So as I have told you, simultaneous observation of three components, location, time and identity of the user, is going to create a threat to a user's privacy. So depending upon the priority, identity of the user has the highest importance from privacy point of view, and then comes here time and location of the user. A location server, which is the adversary, is allowed to learn the location of the customer while customer is using the service, but provider should never know the customer's identity or a combination. So, what service I am being asked for, at what location I am going to take that service, that is okay, that is very important. In location based services, we need that location to be disclosed, but there is no need, or the identity component should be hidden from the adversary, or and the timing also. So, user's identification, location, time of location observation should be kept secret. So, what is the dilemma? As I have told you, key input for any location based services needs location, while on the other hand, disclosure of this location will result into, or may result into, stalking, identity theft, monitoring users without their knowledge, inferring other sensitive information about individuals such as their religious affiliations or political affiliations or any other political activity. So, the dilemma is we need to disclose the location as well as we need to hide the location. So, how are we going to balance this dilemma, or how are we going to solve this dilemma? So, location privacy and authorization is the area or is the challenge which can be addressed by many techniques. One is authorization and access control. Let us define who is allowed, when he or she is allowed to access my location. For example, my family members, it is just an example, my family members are allowed to access my location from 9 to 5 on all working days. On weekends or on non-working days, I am not going to allow them to access my location. Who is allowed to access what service, which service can be accessed by whom, or role based access control. Role based access control means, again, if it is your boss or if it is your employer, he or she may access your location at the working days from 9 to 5, and at the non-working days, on weekends, Saturdays and Sundays, you do not want your employer to access your location. This is role based access control. Another dimension to it is what access to your location you are going to provide him or her. For example, I am going to allow them to pinpoint my location, that I am in room number so and so, or I am just going to allow them to say yes, I am available in this particular office campus or so. So, how much micro level service or how much micro level location one is allowed to access, that can also be taken care of, and when and who is allowed to access which or what service is, that can also be taken care of. So, now this is clear that agents know your location some ways, as an advertisement comes to your mobile for a discount coupon. So, it is important to share the location, but it is also important to consider location privacy and security. So, basically the agenda is you have location versus performance trade-off, because in order to get more accurate service, you need to give your micro level location. In order to get the service which is not of very much high quality, you can compromise your location microness. So, again, identity privacy is one concept which is actually connected with the location privacy. Identity privacy says you can achieve indistinguishability among a set of k users. For example, if you remember, in the location privacy architecture, I have shown you n number of users or n number of mobiles in a particular area. So, let us say I am firing a query and I am saying that there are k number of users in this particular area and I am one of them. That is fine, that is okay, that is not going to give threat to your privacy unless you are properly indistinguished distinguished between these k users, or your privacy can be protected using pseudonyms. That means you need not to disclose your actual identity, you can disclose your identity using a false name or using a pseudonym. Another agenda is how are we going to measure the location privacy, how are we going to quantify the location privacy. Let us say we are achieving location privacy through some means, fine, but is it good enough to have this level of privacy, or we want to be more rigid, or we want to be more flexible, or this is not enough. How are we going to quantify the location privacy which is achieved is another agenda. So, there are some privacy protection strategies and mechanisms available through which you can one can prevent location privacy. These are regulatory strategies, policy based, location obfuscation, data transformation, and PIR based location privacy. Let us consider them one by one. So, regulatory strategy says development of rules to govern fair use of personal information. For example, you have many acts and rules which says that this much of that consent you need to take from user for disclosing their location. For example, we have one act which is Location Privacy Protection Act of 2011, which clearly says the company which is taking one customer's location need to take the consent from user before disclosing or collecting his or her location data. So, these type of things or everything is written in that privacy disclosure form which I was discussing in the earlier lecture. So, these actually disclosure forms are never read by user, that is what the problem is. So, company is getting your consent to disseminate your data, disseminate your location data to third parties from you only, because you are just ticking I agree option, or you are just clicking the I agree option without even going through that privacy disclosure form. But Location Privacy Act of 2011 says that before collecting and before disseminating, one has to ask for, the company has to ask for the permission for this dissemination and collecting. This is regulatory strategies. So, coming back to the second option, which is policy based strategies. Policy based strategy says privacy protection is done through user defined or system supplied privacy policies. These are the privacy policies which are suitable for privacy protection and are available within your mobile devices only. For example, you enter in your office campus, you set the privacy policy differently, and when you go out from your campus, you can set your privacy policy differently. But users are often not willing to directly manage these privacies because of the complexity and pervasiveness. These are mainly the complexity is the hassle for which, because of which users are not agreeing for these privacy policy strategies. The third category is location obfuscation. Location obfuscation is actually lowering down the quality of location information which is supplied to a particular location server or adversary or location service provider. So, instead of giving the actual coordinates or giving the actual location, one can alter, substitute, or more specifically generalize the location. Let us take an example. Instead of saying that I am present in a particular let us say room number 202 of IIT campus or Aryabhat College campus, I can say I am present in this Hauj Khas area or any other area. So, actual location is expanded to a wider subspace in spatial domain, and this is known as obfuscation reason. For example, I am saying my location is Hauj Khas area, rather than pinpointing that my location is SDA market in particular in Hauj Khas area, I am just saying my location is Hauj Khas area. So, this Hauj Khas area will become my obfuscation reason, and this Hauj Khas area as location in order to get the service will be given to the service provider. So, there can be many location obfuscation strategies. That means, quality of location can be lowered down using pseudonyms. You can kill the identity and you can kill the relationship between identity and the location by not using your actual identification, by using your pseudonyms, or by spatial clocking, in which I told you that there can be k minus 1 other users, there can be other k minus 1 or n number of users, and a particular user will be cannot be distinguished from these users. I am sending a query that I am present in Hauj Khas area, and I have deliberately sent that query because in Hauj Khas area I am having 10 other users which are having their mobile. So, if somebody wants to track me, he or she or the adversary will have to identify that within that particular Hauj Khas area, among those 10 users, which one is the user who is actually firing the query. So, or you can add some random noise and dummies for that particular position. For example, 10 users are not available within 1 kilometer of area. So, you can add some dummies. This will be done by, this can be easily taken care by your middleware or your trusted third party. Or we can redefine the possible location regions. So, location obfuscation basically focuses on lowering down the quality of location passed to the location server. Instead of passing down the micro or the accurate location, we can pass some generalized location which is having some other users, or we can pass a location not with the correct identity, but with the pseudonym. Or one idea could be, the fourth one in the category is data transformation. Data transformation is, the owner transforms the database using some encoding methodology prior to transmitting it to the location based server. So, instead of just directly transferring the location to the location server, this should be encoded using some methodology like Hilbert curve, or other methodologies are available for transformation of data. Another idea is PIR based location privacy. PIR is private information retrieval. Let us say I am retrieving a particular location service from the database of a location service provider. So, what if, won't it be interesting that I am accessing the block I from the GIS database of location server, and that location server is not aware of that which particular block I am accessing. So, basically it is, server maintains a database consisting of n sequential blocks, and PIR protocol or PIR technology enables a client to retrieve the ith block or any particular block from the server without the server discovering which block was requested. That means, from database we are taking a particular information, but which particular information is being taken, that is not disclosed to the location server. This can be achieved with the help of PIR based location privacy technique, which is private information retrieval. So, what kind of location privacy attacks can be there? The list is huge. There can be many kinds of location privacy attacks. For example, a user issues an LBS request from a location P. Now, let us say that location P is a particular department of a very big hospital. For example, let us say that is from the cancer department. User's location P is covered by a bigger region Q. Let us say I am giving not from the cancer department of that particular hospital, but the quality of location before passing on is being lowered down, and I am saying that I am available in that bigger hospital location. Now, but if your adversary is aware that user in the obfuscated location, and that obfuscated location is Q, and Q is entirely contained in the spatial extent of a particular place. What I am trying to say is, you are standing at the cancer department, but your adversary is aware of that your cancer department, or you are at a particular location which is in the coverage of a big hospital area. So that means he or she has inferred that user is located in that particular place. Now, for a patient visiting to that particular hospital for his or her own diagnosis, this could be a privacy threat. But for a doctor who is working over there, for which it is a workplace, it can't be a threat. So these kinds of threats are available. So such a privacy concern would not be there for an employee working over there, because the location is related to user's professional activity. So it's not only about location, it is about location and the identity both. If a doctor is available in a hospital, that is perfectly fine, but if a patient for a medical diagnosis is available in a particular place at a hospital, that could be a threat to his or her privacy. So these kinds of threats and many other attacks could be possible, are actually possible if your location privacy is not protected.